He walked down the long, bright hall toward the throne. The walls were smooth and pale, and crystal lamps hung from the ceiling. Their soft light made the hall glow. Tall vases of fresh lilies stood along the walls. Their gentle scent filled the air. 2 guards in shining armor stood by the doors. They watched him without moving. The teacher paused just before the steps. He wore a simple tunic and carried a small satchel. In it were books of human art and science. His boots clicked softly on the polished floor. He drew a slow, steady breath. Above him on a raised stage sat the alien queen. Her skin was pale and perfect. Silver hair fell over her shoulders. Her eyes were large and dark, like twin moons. She wore a dress of deep blue that flowed around her throne. A thin metal crown lay on her head. She held a slender scepter in one hand. The hall held its breath as she spoke. Her voice was soft, yet it filled every corner. "Teacher," she said, "I have learned war and science. I have studied art and song. I know much of our world and beyond, but I know little of the human heart. I wish to learn something only humans know. Will you teach me?" A hush spread through the line of important guests. Beings from many worlds watched in silence. Their bright robes rustled as they leaned forward. Never had the queen asked for such a thing. The teacher bowed low. His heart beat fast, but his voice was calm. "Yes, Your Majesty," he said. "Tell me what you wish to learn." The queen set aside her scepter and leaned toward him. "Teach me something human," she said. "Teach me how to share a true feeling." Her gaze held hope. He met her eyes and felt a warmth in his chest. He did not expect this request. He thought she would ask for more knowledge of machines or stars, but she had asked for the language of feeling. He rose and spoke clearly. "I will teach you, Your Majesty. I will share with you the simple ways we show care." Around them, the court stayed still. Only the whisper of his words broke the silence. He turned to look out a tall window. He could see a bright sky and a distant forest. He thought of home, of his family waiting in a small village on Earth. He remembered the small acts that bind people, holding hands, sharing food, kind words. Then he faced the queen again. She sat tall and curious. Her eyes shone with a gentle light. He felt the weight of the moment and the promise it held. "Come with me," he said, stepping down from the stage. The queen rose from her throne. The guards opened a path. Together, they walked toward the open doors and toward a lesson that would change both their worlds. The court sat in uneasy silence. Deputies from distant star systems lined the marble steps. Their bright robes made a quiet rustle. No one spoke as the alien queen stood tall. She held her head high, but her eyes shone with something new, vulnerability. "Teacher," she said, her silver voice soft and steady, "I have studied our histories of war. I have mastered the equations of your machines. I know the brushstrokes of great painters and the notes of every song. Yet I feel a gap in my soul. I do not know how to share a true feeling. I wish to learn what humans call affection." A murmur rose through the crowd. Some ministers gasped. A few diplomats exchanged astonished looks. They did not expect such a personal request from their queen. An advisor in a cloak of emerald green leaned forward and whispered urgently to his neighbor. Even the guards on the steps paused in their patrol. The teacher felt his heart pound in his chest. He had prepared lessons on mathematics and physics. He had books of art and philosophy. But he had not thought he would teach feelings. He swallowed hard but kept his voice calm. "Your Majesty," he answered, bowing low, "your request is both wise and brave. Humans show affection in many small ways. A word of care, a gentle touch, a shared gift. If you will allow me, I will teach you." The queen's lips curved in the faintest smile. She set aside her scepter and stepped down from the throne dais. The satchel at the teacher's side felt suddenly heavy with possibility. The courtiers watched as the queen and the teacher met on the marble floor, their eyes locked in mutual respect. A hush fell over the hall. The only sound was the soft echo of their footsteps as they moved toward the grand doors. Outside, A warm breeze stirred the banners above the palace entrance. Petals from the nearby rose bushes drifted in through the open archway. The queen paused there and raised her hand. "Start with something simple," she said. "Show me one small act that speaks more than words." The teacher bowed again, then stood straight. He reached into his satchel and drew out a single fresh rose. Its petals were a deep red, soft and velvety. He held it gently by the stem, careful not to crush the bloom. "In human culture," he began, "we offer flowers to show we care, to show respect or love. A single rose can speak more than 1,000 words." He stepped forward and offered the rose to the queen. She took it with slender fingers. Her eyes softened as she brought it close to her face. She inhaled its scent and closed her eyes for a moment. The court held its breath. In that stillness, every being sensed a shift in their queen's great heart. When she opened her eyes, the queen looked at the teacher and bowed her head. "Thank you," she whispered. "This small gift, it is beautiful." The teacher felt relief flood through him. The court erupted in quiet applause. As the guards opened the doors wider, he and the queen stepped into the sunlit garden. There, amid the blooms and birdsong, they would begin the journey of teaching and learning the human heart. The queen and the teacher walked along the palace garden. The path was lined with tall hedges and soft grass underfoot. Birds sang overhead. The sun shone warm on their faces. The teacher paused by a white marble bench. He faced the queen and spoke softly. "There is more than one kind of love," he said. "We feel love for friends, for family, and for someone special." The queen tilted her head. She let the words sink in. The gentle breeze stirred her silver hair. She looked at the teacher with deep curiosity, ready to learn this new language of the human heart. First, he spoke of friendship. He explained how friends share laughter and help each other in trouble. He told a story of two children on Earth who built a small wooden boat. They worked side by side, their hands dirty with paint. They cheered when the boat floated on a calm lake. The queen listened, imagining the children's joy. "Friendship is simple," the teacher said. "It grows through shared moments and trust." The queen nodded. She pressed a hand to her chest, feeling a gentle warmth. She understood that friendship was a bond of respect and kindness. Next, the teacher spoke of family. He described a family dinner at home. A mother, father, and child sat around a wooden table. The child passed bread to the father. The mother smiled as she poured tea. Their voices were soft and happy. The queen closed her eyes as she listened. She imagined the warmth of a family home. "Family love is strong," the teacher said. "It is built on care, patience, and shared history." The queen breathed in deeply. She felt a new sense of longing, a feeling of safety and belonging that she never knew she lacked. Finally, he spoke of romantic love. He chose a quiet fountain in the garden. Water trickled over smooth stones as light danced on its surface. He spoke of two hearts beating in time. He described a moment when a man and a woman stand face to face, their hands almost touching. "Romantic love is gentle but powerful," he said. "It grows from attraction and shared dreams." The queen watched the fountain's ripples. She felt her heart flutter at the thought of shared smiles and soft words. She reached out and let her fingers brush his arm. The teacher saw her reaction and smiled. "Now you feel it," he said. "This is a human emotion." The queen's eyes shone as she looked at her hand on his arm. She felt a spark, a quiet thrill that spread through her. The court would soon speak of this lesson, but here in the garden, all was still. The queen and the teacher stood side by side under a sky turning gold. She bowed her head to him and whispered, "Thank you for showing me." He bowed in return. "This is only the beginning," he said, and her smile promised many lessons to come. The teacher led the alien queen into a quiet courtyard. The ground was covered in soft grass and small white flowers. Sunlight filtered through a high stone arch. A gentle breeze carried the scent of jasmine. The queen paused at the center, her silver hair brushing her shoulders. She watched the teacher with calm curiosity. He motioned to a low wooden bench by a marble fountain. Water trickled over smooth stones, making a soft, steady sound. The teacher invited the queen to sit. She settled beside him, her dress pooling at her feet. He faced her with kind eyes and spoke in his calm voice. "Your Majesty," he began, "today I will teach you the simplest human gesture of care. We call it holding hands." He reached out his own hand, palm up and open. The queen studied his gesture. Her large, dark eyes held trust. She extended her slender fingers and placed them gently in his. At first, the queen held her fingers stiffly. She watched her hand in his, feeling the warmth of his skin. The teacher smiled softly. "See how our hands feel together," he said. "We share strength and comfort this way." He closed his fingers around hers, guiding them to rest in his palm. The queen felt a soft pulse of feeling travel from her hand to her heart. Around them, the courtyard felt still. The fountain's murmur and the distant song of a bird were the only sounds. The queen looked up at the teacher and noticed how his eyes shone with gentle warmth. She let her hand relax in his, allowing herself to feel safe and cared for. On Earth, the teacher explained, friends or loved ones hold hands to show they care. It tells someone, "I am here for you." He gave her hand a light squeeze. The queen's pale skin felt smooth against his. She closed her eyes and let a small smile form on her lips. The teacher then guided her fingers to intertwine with his. "This is another way," he said. "It shows trust and closeness." The queen followed his lead. She slid her fingers between his, linking them softly. A gentle warmth spread through her chest. She heard her own breath catch in surprise. When she opened her eyes, the queen met the teacher's gaze. "This simple touch," she said in her soft voice, "speaks more than words." The teacher nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty. A single gesture can carry deep meaning." They sat together for a moment, hands still joined. The queen felt a new kind of connection, not of power or duty, but of gentle care. She squeezed his hand once more, then let her fingers drift apart. The teacher stood and bowed. She rose as well, her smile bright. As they walked back through the archway, the court watched in silent wonder. The queen carried with her the memory of a simple lesson, a human lesson that would change her forever. The teacher led the alien queen into a bright chamber filled with soft light. Tall windows looked out over the garden, and a gentle breeze stirred the curtains. A low table held a neatly stacked pile of parchments and a simple ink pot. The queen paused at the doorway, her silver hair brushing her shoulders. She watched the teacher set out the writing tools with calm curiosity. He motioned to a carved wooden chair and offered it to her. She sat, smoothing the folds of her deep blue dress. He sat across from her and opened a small book of human phrases. The cover was worn but neat. He cleared his throat and spoke softly. "Your Majesty, humans use words to share care. They say, 'I care for you.' Listen, and then try to speak it." He pronounced each word with care. "I care for you." His voice was gentle, almost like a song. The queen watched his lips move. When he paused, she took a steady breath and repeated, "I care for you." Her voice was even and flat, as if she read from a text. "Good," he said with a warm smile. "Now add your feeling. Think of kindness in your heart." He placed his hand over his own chest to show her. She looked down at his hand, then at her own chest, and nodded. She tried again. "I care for you." This time her tone rose and fell gently, carrying a soft warmth. The teacher's smile grew. "Very good, Your Majesty. You spoke with feeling." Next, he showed her another phrase. "You are safe with me." He wrote the words on a parchment in neat script. "Read after me," he said. She leaned forward and read, "You are safe with me." She paused, then repeated with a softer tone, "You are safe with me." As she spoke, her dark eyes softened. The teacher guided her through two more phrases. "I value your trust," and "You matter to me." Each time, she spoke slowly, listening to her own voice. She practiced the words until they sounded natural. Then he handed her a fresh sheet of parchment and a quill. "Write the phrase you most like," he said. The queen dipped the quill in ink and wrote slowly, "I care for you." Her handwriting was careful, each letter clear and even. When she finished, she held the parchment up and studied it like a rare treasure. She folded the paper and sealed it with a small stamp of her royal crest. "I will send this to my trusted advisor," she said. "He will know that I care." She handed the scroll to the teacher, who bowed and accepted it with respect. After he left, the queen held the room's silence. The soft light from the window framed her face in a gentle glow. She whispered the words to herself, "I care for you." Her voice was quiet, but she felt a new warmth in her chest. A distant bird sang outside, and the breeze carried its song into the chamber. The queen closed her eyes and inhaled. She felt the power of simple words, words that could build trust, heal wounds, and forge bonds stronger than steel. When the teacher returned, he saw her calm smile. "You have learned well," he said. She nodded and rose, her heart light. In that moment, she knew she had taken her first real step toward understanding the human heart, and toward sharing it with her own people. The teacher led the alien queen into a wide, open courtyard. Tall white columns rose around them, and silk banners danced in the breeze. Fragrant jasmines grew at the edges of the courtyard, filling the air with a gentle scent. The queen paused in the center, her silver hair glinting in the sunlight. She watched the teacher with calm curiosity. He bowed low. "Your Majesty," he said softly, "today I will teach you a human gesture of warmth. We call it a hug." He stepped back, arms wide, and waited. His stance was open and gentle. The queen studied him. Then, with deliberate grace, she lifted her arms. They formed a soft arc, as if she were ready to hold a small bird. The teacher smiled and stepped forward. He wrapped his arms around her shoulders. His touch was light, but steady. The queen felt a gentle pressure against her skin and a warm pulse of feeling in her chest. He held the embrace for 3 slow breaths. Around them, the courtyard was still. No guards moved. No servant spoke. The only sound was the soft rustle of banners overhead. After the 3rd breath, the teacher eased his arms apart and bowed. The queen let out a quiet breath, her dark eyes shining. "I feel calm," she said in her soft voice. "This small touch brings peace." The teacher nodded. "A hug shows care and comfort. It tells someone, you are not alone." He offered his arms again. This time, the queen moved first. She stepped forward and wrapped her arms around his waist. He met her halfway and gently returned the embrace. She felt his steady calm reinforce her own. When they parted, she pressed a hand to her heart and smiled. Nearby, 2 palace guards had paused in their patrol. One guard stepped forward hesitantly. The queen turned to him and gestured. "Come," she said quietly. The guard bowed and approached. The queen opened her arms in invitation. He accepted with a brief nod, wrapping her in a careful hug. When they released, he stood straighter, a small smile on his face. The courtiers watched in silent wonder. Even the distant hum of palace life felt softer. The queen turned back to the teacher. Such a simple act, yet it changes the heart. He led her to a low marble bench beneath a flowering jasmine tree. Petals drifted around them like pale snow. He spoke again. "Humans hug to share joy, to comfort in sorrow, and to strengthen bonds of trust." The queen closed her eyes, breathing in the jasmine and the memory of warmth. She opened them and reached into her satchel. She drew out the single red rose he had given her days before. Holding it out, she said, "I give this to you, guard, as a sign of thanks." She handed the rose to the guard, whose eyes widened in respect and gratitude. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in gold, the teacher and the queen rose. She stood taller, a gentle light in her eyes. "My people will learn this," she said. "They will know that a simple hug carries the greatest care." The teacher bowed. "You have learned well, Your Majesty." Together, they walked back through the archway, two worlds bridged by a single warm gesture. The teacher and the alien queen met each morning in the palace garden. Sunlight danced through the leaves, and the air was warm with the scent of flowers. Each day, the queen grew more at ease. She walked beside the teacher without her usual regal formality. Her steps were light, and her silver hair caught the sun. On the seventh day, the teacher brought a small wooden table and 2 cups of herbal tea. The cups were simple and round. He poured the tea slowly, filling each cup until the liquid glowed amber in the light. The queen watched him, her dark eyes soft with interest. "Today," he said, "I will answer any question you have about human feelings." He handed her a cup. She took it with both hands, feeling the warmth seep into her palms. She sipped the tea and closed her eyes. "Teacher," she said, "I want to know why humans sometimes hide their feelings." Her voice was quiet but curious. The teacher nodded and set down his cup. "In human life," he began, "we often protect ourselves. We fear that showing our heart makes us weak. We may hide anger, sadness, or love to stay safe." He paused and pointed to a nearby fountain. "See that water? Sometimes it looks calm on the surface, but moves fast below. People do the same." The queen studied the fountain's ripples. She placed her cup on the table and leaned forward. "How do we learn to trust?" she asked. The teacher smiled and stood. He walked to a low hedge and plucked a handful of bright yellow flowers. He returned and handed them to the queen. "Trust grows with small acts," he said. "Like when I give you flowers, you see my kindness. You learn I mean no harm." The queen took the flowers and placed them in her hair. She touched the petals and felt a gentle joy. "I understand," she said. "One small gift can open the heart." He nodded and led her along a shaded path. They came to a wooden swing hung from 2 strong branches. The teacher sat on one end and patted the seat beside him. The queen hesitated, then sat down. As they swung gently, they moved in time, rising and falling together. "When we share simple moments," the teacher said, "we build trust." A laugh here, a question answered there. Trust is a bridge between hearts. He paused the swing and looked at her. "Do you trust me, Your Majesty?" The queen met his gaze and smiled. "I do," she said softly. "I trust you with this lesson and with my feelings." Her voice held a new warmth that surprised her. They rose from the swing and walked back toward the palace. Along the way, an attendant bowed and offered a small loaf of fresh bread. The teacher and queen shared it, breaking off pieces and eating slowly. As they ate, they laughed at a small joke the teacher told. The sound of her laughter felt like music. By the time they returned to the throne hall, the court noticed a change. The queen moved with ease and spoke with genuine warmth. Her eyes glowed with trust and curiosity. The teacher stood by her side, proud of each step they had taken together. In that moment, both human and alien saw that true trust could grow from simple acts. A question answered, flowers given, a shared swing, a loaf of bread, and a gentle laugh. Together, they had built a bridge between 2 worlds, one small step at a time. The teacher led the alien queen into a small, quiet pavilion at the edge of the garden. White curtains hung from slender pillars, and rose petals lay scattered on the stone floor. The air was sweet with the smell of flowers. A gentle breeze stirred the curtains. The queen paused at the entrance, her pale skin glowing in the soft light. She watched the teacher with calm curiosity. He placed a low wooden table in the center and set 2 small mirrors upon it. "Your Majesty," he said, "today we practice the final human gesture of affection. We call it a kiss." The queen's dark eyes widened. She had learned many lessons, words of care, holding hands, gestures of warmth. But this felt new and special. The teacher pointed to the first mirror. "Watch your own lips in this mirror," he said. He brought a hand to his own mouth and puckered his lips gently. In the mirror, The queen saw his lips form a soft O shape. He then smiled and returned his lips to their normal curve. A kiss begins with a soft meeting of lips, he explained. It is gentle, brief, and full of feeling. Next, the teacher handed the queen a small, soft cloth. Practice on this first, he said. She took it carefully and held it before her face. She watched her reflection as she puckered her lips like the teacher did. She let the cloth touch her lips. It felt cool and smooth. She moved the cloth back and forth, gaining confidence in the simple motion. When she was ready, the teacher guided her to the second mirror. Now imagine another's lips here, he said, pointing to a spot just below the mirror. Think of care in your heart. Let the kiss speak your feeling. The queen closed her eyes and took a slow breath. She remembered the moments they shared, the rose, the handhold, the hug, the kind words. She felt all those feelings surge at once. She opened her eyes and in one calm motion, leaned forward so her lips nearly touched the mirror. She held her breath for a single heartbeat, then drew back. She looked at the teacher, her eyes bright with understanding. It feels meaningful, she said softly. More than words, more than touch. The teacher nodded. Yes, Your Majesty. A kiss can tell someone, I care for you deeply. It can seal a promise of trust and affection. He then placed 2 fresh rose petals on the table. We practice once more, he said. Offer a petal as if it were lips. They each took a petal and puckered their lips. In unison, they pressed their petals together, then separated them. The petals held a faint mark of their lips. The queen studied the petal and smiled. Around them, the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The pavilion glowed with soft light. The teacher stepped back and bowed. When you are ready, Your Majesty, you may share the first kiss. In a moment, the space will be yours. The queen felt her heart beat faster. She felt a mixture of excitement and calm. She nodded and rose slowly. She looked out at the garden beyond the pavilion. The world seemed still, waiting. She inhaled the sweet scent of roses and remembered every lesson. Then, with a quiet grace, she turned back to the teacher. The moment had come. The queen closed her eyes, lifted her face, and leaned forward, ready to learn the final, simple act of the human heart. The sky above the pavilion was soft with the last light of day. The trees stood silent, their leaves shimmering in a gentle breeze. Rose petals lay scattered on the stone floor. The queen and the teacher faced each other in the quiet space. Both stood still, hearts beating softly. The moment felt sacred. The court watched from a distance, silent and safe behind the open curtains. There was no need for guards or words. The teacher bowed his head. He held out his hand, palm up. My queen, he said softly, we are ready. The queen placed her hand in his. She closed her eyes and drew a deep breath. She remembered all that she had learned. She thought of the rose, the words, the touch, and the hug. All these gifts had led her here. Now she was ready for one more act of care. Slowly, the teacher leaned forward under the rose-laced arch. The queen lifted her face and met him halfway. Their lips touched in a soft, gentle kiss. The air held the sweet scent of jasmine. It lasted only a heartbeat, yet it felt like a million moments. In that instant, the world fell away and only warmth remained. The queen felt a bright glow in her chest. The teacher felt a tender weight in his heart. When they slowly pulled back, both kept their eyes closed for a single breath. Then they opened them and saw each other anew, with wonder in their eyes. The queen's cheeks warmed. She touched her lips with the tip of her fingers. Her dark eyes shone with awe. Never had she felt such feeling before. She stood tall, but her voice was soft. I feel a new strength inside me, she said. It is gentle, yet it fills my heart. The teacher bowed and offered his hand again. The queen placed her hand in his, and they walked slowly back through the pavilion. Around them, Petals stirred in the breeze as if to applaud their moment. The teacher watched her with pride. He felt joy that he could share this part of human life. He offered a gentle smile. "Your Majesty," he said, "you have learned the greatest human gift." She looked at him and nodded. "I understand now," she said. "This gift will guide my people to new bonds of care." The teacher led her out of the pavilion. The fading light rose on the garden, and every flower seemed to glow with promise. Later, the court spoke in quiet tones. Messages flew across the palace by messenger droids. The queen's lesson spread to every corner of her realm. Diplomat and soldier alike heard of the human kiss and its power. Many felt hope and new curiosity. That night, the queen wrote in her journal. She described the kiss and its warm promise. She closed the book with a smile. In the days to come, her people would learn that a simple gift of care could change the fate of worlds. The sun rose over the palace as the alien queen prepared for her first public speech since the lesson. She stepped onto the grand balcony, her deep blue dress flowing in the morning breeze. Below her, citizens and diplomats from many worlds gathered in neat rows. Flowers of every color filled the square. A hush fell as the queen raised her hand. She spoke in a clear, steady voice. "My people," she began, "I have learned a human gift. A simple gesture of care can build trust stronger than steel. Today, I declare a new era for our world." She paused, and petals drifted down like gentle rain. The queen told of her lessons with the human teacher. She spoke of holding hands, sharing words, the warmth of a hug, and the promise held in a kiss. She described how each act spoke a language of the heart that all beings could understand. "From this day," she said, "we will honor these gifts." The court burst into cheers. Some wept with joy. Others bowed deeply. The queen smiled and lifted a single red rose. "Let this flower remind us that care can bloom anywhere," she said. She then held out her hand and invited the human teacher forward. He stepped onto the balcony and bowed. The crowd cheered again. The queen placed the rose in his hand and said, "You have taught me more than words or science. You have shown me the path to peace." The teacher felt warmth fill his chest as the crowd's applause echoed. That afternoon, the queen signed new decrees. She established the Festival of Affection, to be held each year on the 10th day of the first moon. Citizens would exchange flowers, hold hands, and share gentle kisses. She opened the Palace School of Empathy, where humans and aliens could learn about each other's customs of care. She invited leaders from allied worlds to join this new school. News of the Queen's change spread quickly. Ambassadors from the planet Cora arrived with gifts of jasmine garlands. Merchants from the Vega cluster set up stalls of sweet breads baked in simple shapes. A hand, a heart, and a rose. Children played games that taught trust, like catching one another's fall or sharing small tokens. Soldiers paused in their drills to learn the art of the bow and the handshake. In a quiet corner of the palace garden, the teacher paused by the marble fountain. He watched a guard and his wife walk hand in hand across the grass. Nearby, two young diplomats shared a soft kiss on a flower-strewn seat. Laughter and song filled the air. He remembered his own village on Earth, where simple acts of care had held his family close through hard times. He felt pride that such small lessons could change a world. That evening, under a sky of twin moons, the Queen found the teacher in the rose garden. Lanterns glowed softly among the petals. She stepped forward and placed another red rose in his hand. "Thank you, my friend," she said. "You have given us a gift beyond measure." He bowed and replied, "It was you who chose to learn. You turned a lesson into a legacy." They walked side by side through the sleeping gardens. The air was cool and full of promise. Behind them, the palace stood as a beacon of hope. From both worlds, hearts had opened. A simple kiss had sparked a movement of care that would bind their peoples in friendship and peace. Thus began a new era, an era built on the power of kindness.